Hello, my name's June and I'm 38 years old. My father-in-law, Nick, recently passed away. It was devastating to lose him, but grief was not the only thing that Nick's death brought. It also brought back my cheating ex-husband, Cedric. Let me start from the beginning. Cedric and I met through a dating app. I was a college student who was just looking for some fun because I was tired of being cooped up in my college dorm. Cedric was 4 years older than me and he was a working man. We matched and got to talking. We met up, went on a couple of dates. I wouldn't say that we had an instant connection, but we could easily hang out. On one of these dates, we decided to go to a bar. We ended up drinking a lot, and before I knew it, we were at his place. The next month, I missed a period, which had never happened all my life. I was scared for my life because I knew that there was no way that it wasn't pregnancy. I took many tests and all of them came back positive. I told Cedric about it and surprisingly, he was all on board to help me raise the child. In the next few months, Cedric transformed into this caring and very gentle man. It made me fall in love with him, so I asked him to marry me. Cedric said yes without any hesitation. When I informed my parents about my wedding and my being pregnant, they were not happy about either of those things, although they were adamant about meeting Cedric. My family was always overprotective of each other, and so future spouses were scrutinized really hard. When Cedric met my family, none of them liked him. They were nice to him, but I knew it was just a show. My mother pulled me aside after dinner to talk to me. "I'm only saying this because we love and care for you, but we don't think that boy's right for you." "How can you say that after just one meeting?" "There's just this feeling. If it was just one of us that felt that way, I wouldn't be telling you this." "What if you guys feel this way because you don't like that I'm pregnant?" "Of course we don't like that you're pregnant. You're only 20, for God's sake. But we talked about it and we came to the mutual agreement that it's your body and your choice to do what you want. We're not going to interfere with your pregnancy. This man is just not right for you. Look, I'm glad that you guys are being so understanding of the pregnancy, but you have to know that this man is the baby's father and he's been super nice to me." "I'm telling you, he will not stay. If you still remain with him, we won't help you when trouble falls." "Thank you so much for believing in me." With that, I grabbed Cedric's hand and stormed out of the house. It hurt to think that my parents had so little faith in me. I wanted to uninvite my parents, but Cedric convinced me to let them attend our wedding. In hindsight, I probably should have listened to my mom because she was never wrong about partners. I guess I was just scared to raise a child by myself. Anyway, the wedding went on as planned. It was a wonderful event. Cedric's parents were very caring of me and made sure that I was always comfortable. They were the ones who contributed the most towards the wedding, and they made sure that everything that was to be a part of the wedding included comfort for me. When it came time to give birth, I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Everything was going well after. Cedric took on most of the caring while I worked on finishing college. Cedric was an amazing father and he never really complained about anything. He was supportive of my career too. Once I graduated, he was the one who helped me find a job. I made significantly less than him, but at that point, something was better than nothing. Our son was growing into the cutest little child. Cedric and I were beyond overjoyed when we got to witness his first steps and hear his first words. Cedric and I had our struggles, but there was nothing that I thought was deeply wrong. We always communicated with each other about everything, and we worked really well as parents too. I was so glad that I got to spend the rest of my life with him. A good 11 years passed by in the blink of an eye. We were still that picture-perfect family, but then I came home from work one day to see Cedric in bed with another woman. My heart shattered into a million pieces. I didn't even want to look at his face. I just walked out of the house and went to stay with a friend. I arranged for my son to stay with a friend as well until I got things between Cedric and me sorted out. The next day, I filed for divorce. I asked for primary custody and for Cedric to pay child support. When I presented Cedric with the papers the next day, he was not happy. Divorce? Really? Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I don't know why you're cheating on me, and frankly, I don't care to know. Just sign it and get out of my life. Ha! You want me to pay child support? Yes, you have a son who needs to be taken care of too. You're asking for a divorce, so you'll have to deal with raising our child by yourself. How can you say that? You can punish me all you like, but why does our son have to suffer? I never wanted him in the first place, but at the same time, I couldn't risk you going to my family if you chose to complain about me not being supportive. I will not pay you anything. You can say what you like, but the court will make you pay child support. See you in court. It hurt to find out that Cedric never loved me. It hurt like crazy. Who spends a decade with someone out of obligation? If he had told me no all those years ago, I would never have done that. At least I would have had my family's support. But regardless of my pain, I knew I had to keep going. The court hearings were not easy to attend. Cedric kept going on about how I had trapped him in a marriage, but I had managed to have significant proof against what he was saying. The court ordered him to pay child support at the start of every month starting next month. Even though I was still hurting from the divorce, I was glad that my son wouldn't be getting harmed. A week after our divorce, the next month began. So Cedric had to pay me child support, but for some reason, I could never get through to him. Over the next week or so, I tried to get a hold of him many times, but his number was disconnected. There was no way of telling whether he was reading any of my emails, and I was blocked from his social media. I tried to get through to him by creating another account, but even that one got blocked. I tried to reach out to him through another new account, but suddenly I couldn't find his account. He had deleted his entire account. I called Cedric's job, and they told me that he had quit his job 2 weeks ago because he had to move abroad. I was panicking. I contacted my lawyer and asked him what I should do if my husband ran away to another country. He asked me if I knew which country he had moved to because we could still get the child support reinforced. But I had no idea where he had gone. My lawyer told me that I could technically have the government search around, but that would take a lot of time and money, not to mention that I might not even get any results. I had no way of finding out where Cedric was, which meant I had to figure out how to raise my son on what little money I had. I had some savings set aside for a rainy day, and well, that wasn't going to last me very long. I knew my parents wouldn't help me because they had warned me not to be with him. If I asked my friends for help, there was only so long they could help me. The only people I could ask was Cedric's parents. I had a great relationship with them. In fact, after Cedric and I had told them that we were getting divorced, they were more concerned about me than their own son. They were really wealthy, and I knew they were a safe bet. I didn't expect them to give me a crap ton of money every month. I just needed what Cedric was ordered to pay. Even a little less than that would work. Although I didn't want to contact them immediately, I decided to just go on until I couldn't take care of my son and myself. I lasted about 3 months. It was a real struggle to pay all the bills. By the end of the month, I could only feed my son, but I figured things would all be okay. I was actually even beginning to stop entertaining the idea of asking Cedric's parents for help. And then my son got really sick. He had to be hospitalized for a couple of days. The medical bills, even after insurance, were way too much for me to be able to pay off. I remember having a huge breakdown about it. We were barely getting through the month as it was, and to have another huge expense was salt to an open wound. I knew I had to contact Cedric's parents, so I did. "Hey, June, how's everything going? It's been a while since we heard from you." "Yeah, well, I've been struggling a lot." "Oh, no. Is Cedric creating any hassles for you?" He's abroad somewhere. Haven't you heard from him?" "Abroad? What do you mean?" I thought you knew. He ran away the day we got a divorce to get away from paying child support. What the hell? I just thought he was being him and not calling us. Plus, I have to admit, we were mad at him for ruining a good relationship, so we didn't call him up either. Yeah, so I've been struggling. Oh, God, yeah. You know what? Why don't you guys come over? I'll talk to Nick about all this, and we'll do our best to help you. Thank you so much. I really don't know how I can repay you. Nonsense. You've been dealing with all this for months. I wish you had come to us earlier. Besides, we want to take care of our grandbaby too. Bring some clothes over. Stay with us. Okay, I'll be there in an hour. I was honestly relieved that Felicia was so readily on board with helping me out. I didn't even have to ask her to help me outright. She just said she would. I cried in relief. Once I was done crying, I packed up a small suitcase for my son and me, and we went over to Felicia and Nick's. Felicia greeted us at the door with huge hugs. When we went in, we saw Nick, and he also greeted us with huge hugs. We sat down to have lunch and just had casual conversations. They made sure to ask my son a lot of questions and made him feel involved, which made me feel happy that they were protecting my child from hearing things that he shouldn't have heard. When we were done with lunch, my son went off to play somewhere in the house, and Nick, Felicia, and I talked about how everything had been the past 3 months. They were furious about how Cedric left me. They told me they were disappointed to find out that Cedric had been having an affair, but to find out that he had also abandoned his one duty as a father was infuriating. They were also upset with me for not reaching out earlier, and I admitted it was wrong of me to do that. Nick was adamant about helping me out financially. He wanted to give me way more than Cedric was entitled to give me, but I felt wildly uncomfortable with him giving me that much money. Nick, please, there's no need for that much money. Consider it a reimbursement for the past 3 months. Besides, you're a young woman who's raising a child all on your own. You don't have to make so many sacrifices when your child's grandparents have more than enough to give. I know, but it feels like it's a little too much. Nonsense. Nothing is too much when it comes to you too. And nothing you say will change our minds. We just want one thing from you in return. Yes, of course, anything. You need to be in more contact with us. We need you to promise us that if you ever need anything, and I mean anything, you'll come to us. I promise I will. Good. We don't want either of you struggling anymore. Thank you so much. Shh. We love that we can be more involved in our grandbaby's life too. So thank you for coming to us. The next few months were like a breeze. I never realized how much of a difference financial stability made until I had more than enough money. Even when I was married to Cedric, we were in no means financially stable. We still lived paycheck to paycheck, but having more money meant providing my son with many more opportunities. Months turned into years. My son turned into a wonderful person, and he had a very close relationship with his grandparents. We went to see them every weekend and even went on family vacations with them. We were living very well, not only because Nick and Felicia were still supporting us, but because I landed a much better job and my son was also able to start working. About 6 years after Cedric left us, Nick's health began to deteriorate. He had suffered a stroke, but he was fine after he got medical attention. He was put on a strict diet and had a lot of medicines to take. We were all scared that something bad would happen, so we were constantly on guard. Nick was adamant about redoing his will, so I helped him get it done. A couple of months after my son turned 18, Nick suffered a heart attack and passed away before he could get any help. We were devastated. We were told that if we had recognized the symptoms even 2 minutes earlier, he would have been able to live. It was heartbreaking to know that. The funeral happened a week after Nick passed away. We took our time informing everyone in Nick and Felicia's extended family about Nick's passing. Felicia was a mess, so my son and I handled almost everything. We didn't mind doing it because obviously it was the least we could do. The funeral was a very solemn moment. Never had I ever seen so many people gathered in one place. It felt good to know that Nick was loved by so many people, and it was even better to see Felicia crack a smile again after meeting her loved ones. My son and I were pretty much strangers to almost everyone present, but we clung to each other. A week later, we were having a reading of Nick's will at Felicia's place. I don't know how Cedric found out, but he showed up at the front door. I was the one that opened the door, and the sight of him made my stomach drop. I felt a lot of emotions in the moment. Anger, frustration, shock, disbelief. I was too caught up in my emotions to form a single sentence. Cedric barely acknowledged and just pushed past me and entered the house. When I got a hold of myself, I slammed the door shut and quickly walked over to him. I heard Felicia gasp in shock. When I walked into the living room, I saw Cedric standing there looking unbothered while Felicia looked like a ghost. I decided to speak up. "What are you doing here? Last time I checked, they're not your in-laws anymore." "That is none of your business. You were the one who ran away and even cut contact with your parents. It's worse that you're here, not the other way around." "Whatever. I also came back for my inheritance." "Excuse me? You went missing for the past 7 years. You left me to raise our child alone. You never checked in on your parents, and the only reason you came back was for your inheritance? What is wrong with you?" "Who cares about what's wrong with me? I still get my inheritance, and nothing you say will change that. Anyway, Mom, can I take a look at the will?" "What inheritance are you talking about?" "Dad promised me half of all his assets. I just want to see if he did give it to me and when I'll get it." I took a look at it, and there was absolutely nothing in it for you, although Nick did leave you a letter. Hearing that all his dad left him was a letter made Cedric angry. I saw his expression change from nonchalance to anger, and I felt giddy with happiness. I knew what was written in that letter because I was the one who helped Nick write it. The letter essentially told Cedric that Nick was very disappointed and angry with him. He told Cedric that he had raised him to be a better person and not someone who cheated on their spouse or ran away from major responsibilities. Nick went on to explain that since Cedric left me and my son alone to fend for ourselves, he was the one who stepped up and took care of us, with Cedric's portion of his inheritance. Nick said that after his grandson was born, he changed his will to divide his assets into 3 parts between Cedric, Felicia, and my son. But because Cedric left, he decided to spend Cedric's portion on my son and me, and whatever was left, he was donating it to a non-profit organization that worked towards helping single mothers, while my son and Felicia would get their portion of the inheritance. I watched Cedric's face get redder and redder with anger. It honestly made me want to laugh out loud. I couldn't believe he actually thought he would get an inheritance from his father. Nick was a good man who had strict morals. He didn't care who you were to him. If you did something wrong, he would put you in your place, and he had put Cedric in his place in the most perfect way. It was also kind of sad to know that Nick knew somewhere in his heart that Cedric would only come back for the inheritance. When I thought back on how much Nick had insisted on getting his will changed, it was sad to understand that it was only because he knew Cedric that well. I was pulled out of my thoughts by Cedric walking towards me really fast. He jabbed a finger at my chest. "You! What did you say to him?" "First of all, get your finger off of me. Second of all, I didn't say anything to Nick. You read the letter. I don't know what it says." "It says your son got the inheritance, both my portion and his own. What did you do?" "I didn't do anything. You're responsible for your own actions. You chose to leave, and your father chose to exclude you from his will. I had no part in any of these decisions." "You think you're so coy by coolly telling me you had no part in anything? But I will contest Dad's will. I will get what's rightfully mine. Go right ahead. I have full proof that you violated your court orders by fleeing the country, and I have proof of Nick pulling money from your portion of the inheritance to pay your child support. Try to fight me and you might get fined or worse, thrown in jail. Why, shut it, Cedric. If you're done, I'm going to nicely ask you to leave. You stole everything from me. No, you did that to yourself. Leave, or I will get the police involved. It's hard enough for us to deal with losing Nick, and you treating him like he was just some ATM to you is not helping at all. Get out. Cedric left after that, but not before yelling a bunch of profanities at us. Felicia looked like she was ready to go outside and fight Cedric, but I managed to calm her down. I was glad that my son hadn't come along today because I didn't think he'd have dealt with Cedric so lightly. I don't really know what happened to Cedric after that. I don't care to know either. The inheritance that Nick had left for my son was a pretty huge amount, and it would very easily get him through college without him having to take out any loans. I was grateful for Nick's insight. Once my son leaves for college, Felicia and I plan to go on a small vacation, just the two of us, because we're both women who went through a lot, and we think we deserve a moment of happiness. Life is beginning to look up. When I caught Cedric cheating, I never thought this was the route my life would take, but here I am. Remember that you can always find a ton of loopholes, but the consequences will come to find you, even if it takes years. Be good and do good to those around you, and you'll see how nice life can be.